Hello. Okay, so I think. Hello.
Hi.
Why?
How'd you
Oh,
go?
because it's flipped on my water bottle.
I think it's
Okay.
mine actually.
I heard Hydro Flask is all 60% off right now, so in case
I have
someone
this
needs to get a Hydro Flask,
I have this giant one from Amazon.
that works too.
It's so big though.
Good. Good.
Yeah, I'm
So,
so excited we could do this.
what's that?
I'm so excited we could do this.
I know, this is gonna be fun in
Hmm.
many ways. I'm trying to like pull up all the memories of mold, which is definitely, if you've been sick from mold, very triggering in ways. And so I think it's important that we're doing this, and I'm glad that we're holding this space. But definitely, it's a vulnerable topic.
Yeah, definitely. My I know I posted about like the leak in my kitchen sink,
Oh yeah.
and Beth came and replaced that whole bottom.
Oh my God, that's a whole topic in its own, like how to treat it once it happens again in your safe place. Like we have so much to talk about. So a little bit of a background. Sabrina and I, like, we met on Instagram. We've never actually met in person before, but we did the mold move together at the same time. And so you moved just a little bit after me, like a few weeks after me, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was like within the same month or something. And
Mhm.
so we kind of just learned together, like, how do you clean? What do you do from here? And like, how do you just like successfully get out of a place, find a place, do that kind of thing? So that's why we want to talk to you guys about that today and just kind of go over some questions that we wrote out for each other and that maybe you guys asked for us too. Because, yeah, it's such an in-depth topic.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, do you have any questions or do you want me to start with some of mine?
You can start with yours, and I feel like it'll just flow from
It'll
there.
just go. There's so much to
Yeah.
talk about. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, the first question I have is what's the first symptom that you started really noticing?
Oh man, that's a hard one. I don't even know. I would say I'd probably had symptoms for years, but
Mm-hmm.
what I really started to notice was my senior year of college, and I started getting really itchy to the point
Mm.
where like I couldn't sleep. I would be itching, and like I would even cry because of it.
Really? That's so interesting because Sean, my boyfriend, he got sick same time as me, and his symptom is itching, but he's never really tied it to mold before. So, were you able to tie it to mold? Did your doctor and everything say that?
Um, yeah, I don't know if she said like outright that could be one of the
I want
symptoms.
to pause you. Sabrina and I actually have the same doctor too, which is super funny.
That's what I'm like thinking. I'm like, wait a second.
Our
Um,
doctor.
and I found her through you, so thanks
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah, of
And
course.
that's been
She's a
huge.
godsend.
Yeah, definitely. But that was a big thing that at first my previous doctor was testing for food allergies and more that side of things. But then my symptoms started like that never went away. They started really increasing. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think just eventually it was like, okay, this is more than just food allergies. It has to be
Yeah.
something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so crazy. It's such a crazy feeling just noticing something different in your body and you're like, oh, this will go away. Like this will go away. And then eventually you're just like, ah, it hasn't gone away. Like this is a little strange, right? And they start piling up and up and up. The craziest thing ever. So for me, my first symptom was probably well, it's the same thing as you. It's so hard because now that I look back, I probably had like Lyme disease and mold throughout my life. And so like looking back in hindsight, before I got sick. So everyone kind of who's had this experience, they've had like a massive fall where they've been like, I am so sick, I need to do something about it. But then there's like just kind of gradual things where you're like, I don't feel good in this house. I don't really feel good in this building, that kind of thing. So like looking back when I was a child, it was probably like weight, I think, was a big thing for me. And so like I would move to a house or like go through chapters of my life, like go to school or whatever, and I would like gain weight and lose weight, and I'd be like, maybe like I'm doing something different with my diet, and it didn't really do well with my eating disorder, which is also like a huge part of like the mental part that it plays in your, sorry, I'm like messing up my screen right now. Okay, yeah, it doesn't do well with the whole mental part of that either. And so then, but when I really got sick, I think the number one symptom that I noticed was just like fatigue, like so much fatigue. It was when I could not get out of bed, and I would wake up just like, I thought I was waking up from a coma. Like I thought like someone had knocked me out with a bat the night before. And then I'm just like, what is going on? Like, I think I'm actually dying. So that was definitely my biggest symptom was the fatigue.
Yeah, that one's tough. I would say too the brain fog. Like that's been pretty consistent for me
Mm-hmm.
throughout
Yeah.
the past maybe 9 years of my life, a really long time. And that
Yeah.
started when I was a teenager.
Yeah. So hard. But once the clouds clear and we just have like a clear sight in life and everything is controlled, it's just going to be so worth the battle. And so, yeah, it's definitely a long journey.
Yeah, but it is nice once you see those turning points. And of course, it's not like a complete turning point where everything's done and fixed.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember telling you after the liver and gallbladder cleanse the first time, I
Oh,
started
yeah.
to wake up at like 7 a.m. just
Just
naturally.
inspired,
Yeah. I was like,
right?
what do I do with my day? Like, I need a routine or something now. Like, I need to do something if I'm up like way more time during the day.
Yeah, I mean, if you're listening and you're thinking of what you need to do for your mold illness, and maybe you're out of mold now and you just want to like detox your body, the liver and gallbladder cleanse has been so life-changing for both of us. But definitely like talk to your doctor about it, because it's
Yeah.
not right for everyone. Like you really have to work your way up to it. But for both of us, when we started doing it, like we've seen such a change in each other, and just like the clarity, the inspiration, the energy, it's so game changer. And I was telling Sabrina too, like we need to do one, but this toilet paper crisis is really putting a hold on our ability to do the cleanse. So yeah, so I'm gonna have Sean hook up the bidet that we bought. So I really hope all you guys have toilet paper right now. I know that's a big thing going on.
And I will tell you, I just did it like I told you, and
Yeah.
I should have waited.
I know. It's like that's one thing that, I don't want to get too much into details, but you need toilet paper for it. So, yeah, there's a book on it. I have a saved story on it. I think the book is in there, but just liver and gallbladder cleanse, miracle liver and gallbladder cleanse. You have thousands of gallbladder and liver stones, gallstones in that area. So you can remove them without surgery, which I didn't know.
And
But
surprisingly, I haven't removed any. That might
really?
be, but yeah. And
Really?
our doctor was just like, "That's okay. Do it a few more times, and we'll see." She was
Yeah,
so
just keep
calm.
doing it. I mean, just keep doing it. That's so interesting because, well, I also started off by doing the cleanse wrong, and I took 4 times the amount of Epsom salt that I was supposed to,
I remember
because
that.
I didn't read. I'm so bad at directions, so I didn't read the full. Sean just put the book under the door. He's sliding it under the door right now. But yeah, I didn't read the full directions of like portion this out for the next day. So yeah, I removed gallstones right away, and like Sean and I, our relationship, we've gotten so close because we've seen each other's gallstones, and it's just it's a bonding experience.
Oh, that's
If you
great.
want to take your relationship to the next level.
Then do the cleanse.
Yeah, exactly. So where were you living? Like I know this is a whole life story thing of being sick by mold, but where were you living like during when it got really bad?
Um. Oh, another hard question
I
because
know, right?
it's so hard to look back. So, short version is there's probably like 4 or 5 places that I lived that had mold.
Mm-hmm.
When I got my diagnosis, I had just moved into our last apartment, which then
Mm-hmm.
turned out to also have mold.
Oh, God. Yeah, it's so hard to escape it. It really is. It's like 85% of buildings have had water damage at some point, and 55% still have water damage. And so and with water damage in buildings, you get the most toxic molds, and so yada yada. But escaping mold is really hard, and that's a topic in its own. So it is hard to pinpoint exactly where you were. So you were in your last apartment when you were like, like I need to make an end in this. Yeah.
That's when I like started looking for a new doctor because my doctor at the time, she kind of knew to test for mold, but she didn't know how to treat it.
Oh,
So
really?
I was lucky in that she suggested we test for it. But yeah, she was like, go to someone else, like who's more experienced.
Mm-hmm.
But before
That's
that,
good. That's so good that she told you to go to someone else instead of just being like, I am the doctor and I have all
yes.
the answers in the world. Like, some do that, not all, but some do that. So I'm glad that she told you to go somewhere else.
Yeah, and she had actually only had the idea to test for it because she had had it before.
Oh, wow. Okay. Did she use Great Plains? That was one of my questions.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I haven't seen any other mycotoxin tests. Maybe they're out there, but I know Great Plains is like the best one.
Yeah. And you are like certified to do those now, right?
Yeah, so that's really cool. So you can order that through my website, which was huge because when I was going through this whole journey of like, I knew I was in mold, I knew I was sick from mold, but I just needed, like, we'll get into it, but I needed someone to test me for it because I got sick on the job. Like, I was living at work and I needed to have proof. And I couldn't find a doctor who would do it, first of all, but I also couldn't find, um, I couldn't figure out how to. I didn't have insurance at the time. I didn't have like a PPO where you can go see whatever doctor you want. So in order to get the test, you needed to see someone who was qualified in ordering you the test. And so it was just this really difficult thing. So now that you can literally just go on my website and just say buy and order it and just get the results for yourself, they're super self-explanatory. Like, it's just so nice that that's an option.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, I think it'll be a game changer for people who are in my position and just like don't know which doctor to find, or maybe they don't have the insurance that will help them see that doctor.
Yeah, and who have a hunch that it might be mold.
Oh yeah, I mean, I seriously, I look at so many different health issues and I'm like, mold. Like, I feel like I'm mold crazy, right? I feel like I'm mold crazy, but it's just like you look at just the patterns and you're so familiar with it. And I also think we kind of have like a sixth sense for it. And so it's just, I really think it's the root of so many different health issues.
Yeah, me too.
Hmm. I forget where we were going before we went on this, but
Where you like found out you had mold or like
mm,
where you really got it from. Something like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, we'll go from there. Um, so I suspected it in college. Like when I was dealing with cystic, like my whole face cystic acne, I went through every single article on the internet. It felt like just what could cause acne. That was just my mission in life. And so I saw like mold was one of the options. So I thought maybe my pillows were moldy or something like that. I threw away my pillows. I didn't have pillows for like a year just because I was like, I hear pillows can get moldy and like that kind of thing. But it didn't get really bad, and I didn't really think about like mold being my number one or one of my top issues until I lived on the boat. And so when I graduated college, I started working in the yachting industry, and I got on the boat and we were moving to Mexico for 6 months, and I was like, this is the perfect time to heal my acne. I was like, I'm going to be away from everyone. I won't have to wear makeup. Like, it'll be great. And then I moved and it just got worse, and everything got worse, and like everything hurt, and I couldn't get up in the morning, and I was just like, something's severely wrong. And so, and then I didn't know anything about mold really at that time, but like there were always floods in, it was a 4-story yacht. And so there were floods everywhere. And like the ceiling boards above my bed were many times filled with water. Like you would like be able to hold the water in the leather, and it was just so bad. So one night I remember I kept asking myself, I was like, please, please, please send me a sign. Like, what is making me sick right now? I don't understand. And I woke up in the middle of the night. I was sweating every single night in panic and nightmares and everything. I woke up in the middle of the night and something was just screaming like, mold, you idiot. Like, there's been like water everywhere. Like, of course, like, you know this, you've read it, and it was just hard to believe it. But I just like decided to trust that, and then to like start testing and like bring it up to my boss and everything. And so that's a whole nother topic. It's like, when you start bringing it up to people, like when you started bringing it up to your family and friends and everything, and maybe your landlord, like what was the reaction of people?
So for a long time, I think people were very resistant to like the idea that
Yeah.
something that people think is so harmless could be actually really harmful.
Mm-hmm.
So my family took a long time to get on board. I think
Yeah.
recently, with my treatment, thank goodness I'm still on their insurance for a few more months before I turn
Oh,
26. But
lucky.
right, yeah. So I'm trying to like get any treatment I can done right now. But I had to go to them because I did the NAD plus IVs,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was something that was not covered by insurance that
Didn't
much.
you make a PowerPoint on that?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
why this is a thing? I think that's such a great idea. I wish I did that to my boss. Like, look, let's have an education moment.
Yes, and that is actually what helped. And especially my mom has been so nice since then and like so understanding.
Good.
And so I think that really helped, like realizing that just telling people, like, I have all these symptoms and it's because of this. It's hard
Mm-hmm.
to understand, but really
Yeah.
explain, like, this is what happens from it. And like, this
Mm-hmm.
is how I feel. I wrote like a little piece about how I feel every day. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it resonated with them. And so they were really kind after that and like make sure to ask me more questions now. But it was rocky at first.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm in a relationship too, and explaining to my boyfriend all of this, he's been so nice about it. It's still
Mm-hmm.
so hard to explain when somebody else doesn't fully go through it. And he actually had some symptoms in our last apartment too.
But he probably doesn't have like the HLA-DR gene type
Yeah.
that makes him hold on to the mold, right? And so maybe
Mhm.
he was just detoxing it much quicker than you. I actually never did the genetic test, so I'm assuming that I have CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome, because I'm still dealing with the aftermath of it. So maybe you have some activation of that gene too. But yeah, it's so hard. It's so hard to explain it to like our family, our friends, and everything. I remember when I first figured it out, I the same. I tried telling people and explaining, like, I thought black mold was the only mold that could get you sick. So I kept telling everyone, I was like, yeah, black mold made me sick. And they're like, oh, like you must like be dying, that kind of thing. And I was like, I guess I am. So it motivated me to look more into it and then realize like all the different levels of mold and the different kinds of mold. And so explaining that to people is so much harder. And so I think
Yeah.
for me, like I stopped trying to explain it to people other than my family and everything. And then my bosses too, like they did not, because they didn't want to be liable for what was happening. That's like, it was such a bad situation. Like I told them what was happening, and I told them I found mold in my closet. It was growing in my closet. There was like a whole area underneath where there's a big flood and there was mold everywhere. And then I had the boat tested, and it was super high in penicillium and aspergillus, and it was, the air vent was super high, and that was going straight into my mouth while I slept. And so it was such a horrible situation. I had all the evidence that I needed to tell them, like, look, like I'm really sick and I need you guys to like help me get healthy. They flew me out to Arizona to see their best doctor in the entire world, who actually got all my health information and wrote a whole letter to whom it may concern, stating that I was making it all up and that
Oh my God.
it was just in my head, and that I have a history of making symptoms up, and it seems like an anxious order disorder kind of thing. And I was just like, what? And that really gets in your head. That really makes you think, like, am I crazy? Like,
Yeah.
I must be absolutely insane if a medical doctor would write this letter to
And
my boss. And
that's so horrible because I feel like we do that to ourselves anyways. Like we're like,
mm-hmm.
oh, maybe I'm just making it all up. Tell yourself, like, no, obviously not. But when somebody really, that is messed
Yeah, it was insane. I think you're loading on my side right now. I'm gonna give you a sec to reload. Okay, cool. There you go. Can you see me now?
I can sort of hear. I think you moved. I think we're good now.
We're good. We're good. We're back, right? Cool.
Yeah, yeah, we're back.
Yeah, so explaining it to people, to your landlord, to your friends, to your boss, it's hard. No one wants to be liable. No one wants that to be true. Because if they admit that that's making you sick, then that means that like it could be possible for them, for their family, for that whole thing. And so people just choose to kind of ignore it, which is so interesting to me. Like the information is there. It's for us to understand, but people just really choose to say it's not true.
Yeah, and how to handle, like landlords and finding an apartment is also a whole other topic that we can get into another time because I
Yeah.
have to like hire a lawyer and all this stuff. So,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was, I mean, during my move, when I did the whole move, started all over, brand new everything,
mhm.
and it was the moldiest place, like a top 1% moldiest place. So we'll definitely get into that, the whole mold move. Um, but another question I have for you. So it was what were doctors telling you when you told them what was going on? So your doctor was pretty open about it. She tested you and then she told you to find another doctor. Did you find another doctor before you found our doctor that was able to help you? Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to a doctor who my grandma was going to.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
cool.
he, he was great, but he only tackled one problem at a time. And every time I went in, he like was like, let's switch to candida, let's switch to parasites. And so what I
Mm,
like about our doctor is like she's targeting everything and there's a whole plan. It doesn't
yeah.
feel so like jumpy. It feels really guided.
Which is great, but at first it's overwhelming. Like you see all these things wrong with you and you're just like, I'm broken. But it is good because she does she I mean you should always start with parasites like if you're trying to heal a chronic illness, and so your doctor should know to start with parasites, but um yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
And it's a
um
long journey if you're going through it, so stick with it.
okay.
You were ahead of
Yeah,
me, and so you were really helpful to watch and see like how you just overcame like all these challenges that she had you do when you were like drinking the only liquids for 2 weeks. That was really
yeah,
helpful for me,
it's
but
been a crazy journey for sure, but like I mean, to be honest, I was so overwhelmed, and I just kept thinking like that I could set an end date for it. Like I kept thinking that I could be like, when I finish this cleanse, when I do this, then I'll be better, then I'll be better, then I'll be better. But it was never the case. Like you can't really put an end date on your healing from this kind of thing. And so that was one of my biggest lessons that she also taught me too, because every time I'd have a bad symptom, I'd be feeling good, and then like for a few days I'd be feeling bad and I'd panic and I'd be like, no, my progress, everything. So I'd go in there and I'd sob and I would just cry in front of her. And like, I know that you've been emotional in front of her too. She probably sees this all the time, but she's so great about it. But it's just like, it's such an emotional thing when you're like, I just want to be better now. Like, why can I not be better yet? And she explains that well. And she says, like, when you get certain symptoms, like, don't panic. Just do, like, use your resources that you know, like, do a cleanse, change your diet, do a liquid diet, drink some Epsom salt, which is the most nasty thing in the entire world.
yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a long process. Um, but yeah, for my doctors, when I started telling them that I was sick, like I was in Mexico, and then I had the hunch, the mold hunch, so I flew back to America, and I saw like my one primary care doctor that I could, that was on my like really really low level HMO, and they told me like, oh, it's allergies, it's just allergies, like you'll be totally fine, like take a antihistamine, like here's some Claritin. And then I was like, okay, like I was like, I've had allergies before, like I don't think these are allergies, like I really feel like disabled. But I flew back there and then just got worse and worse and worse. And so that doctor told me I was crazy. When I moved back here, I went to a mold and Lyme specialist, and I told her, I was like, I'm sick from mold. And she didn't test me. And so it was just like, it was such a weird process of finding a doctor who would actually was so qualified to do this kind of thing. I think that's the hardest part. It's not only difficult getting sick and realizing you're sick and then searching through the internet to figure out like what's making you sick, but then also finding a doctor that's like going to be able to help you and that is qualified and that is willing to test you. Like for some reason, people who are even like specialized in it, they see so many people, and if you come in there like light and chirpy, then they maybe don't understand what you're like behind doors. And so, but that's another part of it. It's like you still have to put a face on for the world, and you still have to like show up to your job or show up to your friends and your family, and you have to act like you're like still engaged in the world, when at home you just are always questioning, always like panicking, like what's wrong here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely finding a doctor that was able to understand this. And I gave up too. I gave up for a while. I remember it was in our 2 places ago, our first place in Orange County. I completely gave up on finding a doctor. I was like, I'm going to figure it out on my own. I'm going to just do like the healthy stuff that I know how to do. And like, hopefully this just goes away. And then I listened to The Secret, the audio version of The Secret, and they talked about how like if you're sick, or I don't know if they said if you're sick, but they're like, if you have something that you're not specifically specialized in, ask for help. Like if you need your car to be fixed, like you go find a mechanic. If you need this, you go find the person that's specialized in that. And so I was like, okay, all right. Went on the internet, did my researching skills that I like got so good at, and I like finally found Dr. Tamara, who we go see, and she's the only functional medicine person in the network in this area that would take insurance. And so it felt so right. And then sitting in that doctor's appointment, when I was like, this mycotoxins, this, which I had told so many doctors and they didn't understand. And she was like, yep. It was like such a relief to finally be heard and to not feel crazy, not be told that it's my head or that it's allergies. Like to finally have a doctor that like understood and was ready to help us. It was just like, right? Isn't that the best feeling ever, being in that doctor's appointment? You're like, you hear me?
Yeah, you don't feel as alone anymore. Like you
Yeah.
have someone who believes you, who's there to guide you through it, and she challenges you.
Oh yeah, I know. She told me she was gonna drop me a few times. She was like,
Me
"You can go
too.
find another doctor." I was like, "What?" Because I think I forgot to take my supplements for a while, and I didn't understand like how dedicated you had to be. Like I kind of thought like supplements, they're like optional, because like I was just used to. Although I was like really motivated to be in the holistic world, I didn't understand how much like that was the treatment. Like doing the stuff that like built up over time, and like you had to be doing like your silver sprays, and like I think it was something about the silver spray, the colloidal silver. She's like, "Are you using it?" I was like, "Yeah, sometimes." I remember she's like, "Well, you can go find another doctor if you don't want to do this kind of stuff." And I start crying again. I was like, "No, I need you."
Yeah, she's fantastic. She tells it how it is. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. So it's good. It keeps us on track, and that's what we need, because you do need to stay on track it's been like, for me, I've been seeing her for a little bit over a year now, so it does take time, and like you've been seeing her for a pretty long time too. And so, right.
September.
Yeah. So that's such a big takeaway. Like if you can take anything away from this, and like you're just starting your mold journey, like it takes so much time. Like we still battle it.
Switch doctors if you need to, like
Oh
advocate
yeah.
for yourself. I got told it was allergies too. Now that I
Oh
think of it, like years
yeah.
before the itching started. So I wonder if that was part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
doctors will say like mold's just an allergy, and it's like, no, actually, I'm a
yeah.
professional researcher now, and all my friends on the internet told me what mold is, and there's toxic mold, and then there's like allergy mold, and they're just like, you're not a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So what at-home treatments did you try, like when you noticed you were feeling sick, but you like didn't have the doctor guidance yet?
Let's see. I have to think back. I tried supplements at first because I had a lot of nutritional deficiencies, which can be
Mm-hmm.
the mold, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what we didn't know. So I took like liquid supplements to help with that. And then there wasn't much else I did. I almost started treating myself
Mm-hmm.
by like researching on Instagram.
Yes.
So I think like I think I started taking charcoal and
Mm-hmm.
doing like baths, but I could barely like withstand the heat of the baths, and so
Uh,
I did that like maybe once every like
did
while.
you have a reaction to the heat? Like, do you not do
Um,
well in heat?
I love heat, but
Yeah.
just sitting in the bath for some reason, like I would start to get anxious.
I've heard that a lot. That can be from, at least in a sauna, and I think in a bath too. That can be from parasites.
Mm,
Like because they start like reacting. They're like, oh, she's detoxing. Like, get her out of here. So I've actually heard that before. So that's interesting.
yeah.
Do you still take baths, or do you try now?
Occasionally.
No, I know. I clean the bathtub. I get the bathtub ready. I put the essential oils out, but then I just don't take the bath. Like I just can't get myself to like actually go in the bath for that long.
I just get like bored.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'll have Sean like come sit in there just because it's like I don't want to like lay in there for so long, and then it's like if you get your hands wet, like you can't hold the book or like you can't hold your phone, so it's hard.
Yeah.
So I feel you on that. Um, So you would do just like supplementation, right? And like kind of whatever you would find. Like you, for me, when I was self-treating, like my own doctor at the time, because literally it wasn't that I was not trying to find a doctor, it's just that I couldn't. But yeah, if I would see like a blog post on it and someone recommended a product, like I would buy it immediately, and then I would do it for a month, and I'd be like, it didn't work, and so then I would like read another blog, and then it'd be like oregano oil, and I'd be like, okay, oregano oil is gonna be the cure. So I would have oregano oil, and it just like it was like that for so long, and it just wasn't working. Um, so yeah, there's just like I'm sure your supplement closet is or cabinet is insane, like mine is.
I have some that I never even opened that I just
Yeah.
ordered right before I found our doctor and like right before she gave me all the supplements to try. But I literally have a ton of bottles that are just unopened, didn't even try because at that point, like I was gonna follow whatever she said.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I had all those, but then during the mold move, Sean and I were like, I think we were just like brain damaged from all the mold that we were like breathing in when we were like moving everything around. We put all of our supplements in the dishwasher, and we were like, fuck it, just clean it through the dishwasher. Like, we were just so tired of cleaning things, and so we ruined all of our supplements, which is like cringeworthy because of thousands of dollars, but like pretty much thousands of dollars. Like you don't realize it, but like you spend like $50 on this one and $30 on that one, and it's like it stacks up. So like your supplement closet or cabinet is very valuable. So don't put it through the dishwasher when you move from mold. I think you can just wipe it down on the outside. But that's a topic that we should do too.
Yeah,
Is how to
how
clean
to clean.
mold. Yeah, how to find a place, how to clean mold, all of that. So, what would you say was the hardest part about getting sick?
Hmm. I think for so long trying to cover it up and trying to like I mean I did convince myself it was something else.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a teenager I was like very depressed and anxious,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think it got labeled as that, but I think that's when all this like these stomach issues started, and that made me more susceptible to mold. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think yeah, just through all of that.
Yeah, and it's so crazy that like now looking back, like you can probably tie all those symptoms like that you got as a teenager, at least in some way or another, to possibly mold, right? Is that how you feel?
Yeah, so I hid it for a long time, and
Mm-hmm.
until it finally got too hard, like until the itching started and I was getting migraines like multiple times a week, it just got hard to cover it up. And then I really had to look at it and say like, okay, something else is going on here, and even though everyone's telling me it's this or it's in my head, like it's not. There's something going
Mm-hmm.
on. I don't want to live like this, so I'm gonna keep trying to find what's going on and so that I can fix it and treat it.
Mm-hmm. We need a word for that, like that second win that you get where you're like, okay, no, I'm actually gonna like, I'm gonna find an answer for it, because you get so worn out from like years and years and years of this. But then like we all have that clicking moment where it's like, no, like screw this. Like I'm gonna go find
Yeah.
the answers to this. Like even though everyone tells me I'm crazy and I feel like shit and like all this stuff, like I'm going to like keep looking. And like I think that's the most pivotal place in this journey, is like where you're like, no, I'm starting right now.
That's what
But
we
yeah,
call the pivot moment.
yeah, the pivot moment, exactly.
And there's multiple.
Yeah, there's multiple. There's a few for sure. I think mine was when I gave up on doctors and everything, and then read that The Secret, and I was like, oh, here we go again. Pedal to the metal. Let's go find a doctor. But yeah, the anxiety and depression for sure. That is such a hard part, because I mean, mental health is just not talked about enough. There's like so much shame behind it, and we're like almost like, for me, because I was severely depressed too when I was a teenager, and super anxious and getting panic attacks and like horrible stuff that I just hid from everyone. Like I don't think anyone knew about it, and it was because I felt like it was my fault, and because I felt like I just wasn't strong enough. Like I couldn't push through it, and I couldn't be like I couldn't be happy, and that was my fault. And no, I think that it is definitely a toxic issue, and it's a health issue for sure. And
And it's
it's
actually tied to mold. Like it is a symptom of that.
it
And
is, yeah.
yeah, there's this book I'm reading that shows that like adverse childhood experiences,
Mm-hmm.
feeling neglected by your parents, or even as far like as something little as bullying, leads
Mm-hmm.
to in the future you having like a higher risk of getting sick, whether that be like cancer or from mold or heart disease. So it really does stay with you and stay in your body.
When I read that you posted that on your story, it was like a paragraph in the book that changed. We can go into that later too. That changed
Yeah.
so much of my healing. I was like, oh shit. Like I was like, I didn't realize, like, this, it makes so much sense. And I knew about the adverse childhood experience and how that plays out in the rest of your health and everything, but it is tied to so much. And I think that being bullied is a trauma. I think that having like alcoholic parents is a trauma, having narcissistic parents is a trauma, but I also think that getting sick from mold is a trauma, and whether you know it or not, it's a trauma in your body, and you have to heal that part of you that really got affected, whether it's now or when you were a kid, that got really depressed and like lost social touch with other people and with your emotions and everything. Like that is, it's a trauma in your body and your life. And so I think that in its own is an adverse childhood experience. So, yeah, that one I feel so deeply about, because I look back on those years of just like feeling so like fearful of everything and not having any answer to why, and then realizing like the home I was living in, probably like I remember the warpedness in the bathroom floor, and like knowing that there was probably mold there now, and like all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited that more people are talking up about this topic, and I think doctors are starting to notice it more. I don't know if I'm just like surrounding myself with people who talk about it more. I don't really know what's going on in the outside world.
I tell like everyone because I think I've mentioned to you that I'm a therapist, and so I've
Yeah.
mentioned like all the other therapists when they say something about their clients, I'm like, well, maybe it's mold.
Oh yeah, you're probably so crazy mold with your profession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you should just ask them like what their symptoms are, like refer them to someone because
Yeah.
it could be more than just what's going like
Yeah, because it
what's going
affects
on
your
with their
emotions, and
head.
your emotions you want to talk about, right? And so many people come to you for that, but they don't realize that it's their health is a big part of the way that they're feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So crazy. So um, that's all the questions that I have. I got a few questions in the question box. Did you get any that you were able to write down?
But I didn't even check.
Sorry, if you guys have any questions right here, anyone who's on right now, you guys can ask them in here.
I think I saw some earlier. My like questioning is really small though.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we go like back.
I'll let you do that. I don't want to mess it all up like I did last time.
You guys just get my face really close up.
Hey guys.
Sean said same at some point.
Oh yeah, I think Sean was the person saying the most things in there.
Okay, so we have a question. How do you test for mold?
Oh yeah. So ERMI test, mycotoxin ERMI test. You can order that through my website too. I have it in the link of my bio. So that one, and then, or no, not ERMI test. That's the mycotoxin for your body, but ERMI test for the home.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Good thing you caught that because I was thinking the home too.
Yeah. No, all these fancy words.
But
And
ERMI
brain
test
fog.
for the home, and then the Great Plains mycotoxins test for your body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So ERMI test was like I tested so many times. Like my job, I tested air test. I had someone come do an air test and they did the whole, it's super expensive. They looked through the whole place. They looked underneath all the floorboards and everything and they found the mold, which was helpful. But they did the air test and I don't think it was as accurate as it could have been if I did this ERMI test. And then same in our place that we moved out of recently. We did an air test, and that was right before we learned about the ERMI test, but it like didn't catch anything. And there was 99% humidity in the floorboards of the bathroom, so there was for sure mold growing there, but the air test wasn't able to catch it. So I think for sure the ERMI test, it's like a dust swab, and then you just send it in. I think it's like, how much is it, like $200?
It depends how quickly you want to get the results back.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I paid $500 because it was like I
Yeah.
needed to get it the next day
Mm-hmm.
because that's when we needed to. That's like we'll get into that. That's like the hardest part is testing the place and then like signing the contract to move into the place, like the timing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but they have the option for overnight, which is really good. So what is the website? Mycometrics.com.
I did mine through EnviroBiomics.
Oh, really?
They're the same basically. They're
Yeah.
both really reputable. So
Mm-hmm.
you could
Yeah,
do.
so you guys can DM us for those because I think the spelling is a little complicated. Was yours like a dust swab thing?
Yeah, it was like the Swiffer.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that one. I will say that the air test, through my research, I found that that is what a lot of landlords will do because it's inaccurate, and so then they can say like, oh, there's no mold.
Mm-hmm. My boss did the Petri dish
Mm-hmm.
from Home Depot, $7. So yeah, they'll do that one because they're not as accurate for sure. So ERMI test, and then another question that I got was, this is a whole different topic, and we should do another live on it, but I want to answer it just because it was asked. So what did you keep and not keep when you moved?
Oh man, well, do you want to start with that?
Oh no, you can go. I feel like you're ready.
Okay, so let's see. I kept anything that could be like thoroughly cleaned, so like glass or metal that I could wipe down. And I tried to get rid of as much plastic as I could, or I wiped it down. What I threw away was anything that was like, what is it, porous?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of our furniture, I threw away our couch, I threw away our kitchen table because it wasn't like sealed.
So hard.
Bed frame,
So hard.
yeah, our mattress. It was a lot to get rid of and a lot to clean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was such an event, such a life event to go through all of
Yeah.
that.
I remember you posting about like your breakdown while moving, and then it was like slightly before mine, and I remember breaking down in my kitchen. Like everybody was outside moving stuff, and I just sat in a corner.
I was in the kitchen too. I was in the kitchen. I was in a ball, and I was just like crying myself like a little baby. I was like, I just can't believe that this is happening. I was like, this is insane, and no one knows that it's happening because it's like it's not something that like most people have to go through. So
And no one understands why you're afraid, like where you're like, no, don't take that.
yeah.
Like my boyfriend's family and some of my family members were trying to take the furniture back to their house.
Oh yeah.
Like, you can't do that. Like, there's a reason why I'm getting rid of this.
Yeah, or it's like people see that you're moving and they're so sweet and thoughtful and they want to give you things and they're like, "Here, take this and that. Here's this pillow and these sheets." And it's like, "No." Like,
Yeah.
thank you, but no, thank you. And it's just like no matter how many times you explain it to people, it doesn't make sense unless they've really been through it or unless you've provided them an educational PowerPoint.
Which is so helpful.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely should
Um,
have done it sooner.
I know. I wish I thought of that. I don't know if that would even help the people that I'm trying to convince.
Yeah, my dad's an engineer, so, and my mom's like a substitute teacher, so it
Oh,
works
okay.
perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah, that works for a lot of my family members. When I tell them about it, like my brother, love him, but he'll like send me articles on like the why mold illness is not real and like all this stuff. And it's like,
What?
it's just like, are you really thinking that you're going to convince me after all this time that mold illness is not real? So yeah, sometimes you just have to like accept that they are that way. They don't understand. They'll probably never understand, and just love them for the good parts of them. And just use the people in your life as motivation who understand it. Like our boyfriends, were super lucky to have them during this mold move and crazy journey. So yeah, for me, same thing. Just anything porous. We really only kept our clothes. Did you keep your clothes?
We kept most of our clothes and then we just like triple washed them
Mm-hmm.
with like the borax and the EC3.
Mm-hmm. Do you get triggered by your clothes at all?
Um, when we moved, it was still very hard for me to tell if I was being triggered by anything like instantly because I was having such high symptoms still.
Because you were like
So,
constantly triggered.
huh?
Because you were like constantly triggered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think so, but I can't
Mm-hmm.
be for sure. I felt like pretty safe in our home, even with the leaks. I even chose not to retest, even though I was going to, um,
Yeah.
because we're in such a like good situation. Our landlord is great. Our landlord will like fix anything. They
Mm-hmm.
bought the ozone machine for us. When
I
there was
know that. I just want to go so into depth with that. That was amazing. So like you have a really positive experience with that. We can do that
yeah,
soon. 'Cause
another
that,
topic.
I know it. We could go forever on that.
Yeah.
So probably the last question here that I have is, how can we safely move items into our home and make sure they aren't mold or clean them right away? Yeah, so pretty much like what we were just talking about, like every single thing that came through our door, we like soaked in EC3, like everything. And we actually, the second time that we moved, we put everything into the U-Haul and we tried to find an outlet somewhere. We actually drove to like a church, and it was before we moved in, and we used it was the only place we could find an outlet. We actually did it at an apartment complex first, and then we got kicked out because they saw that we were using their outlet to run the ozone in the U-Haul. And they were like, "What the hell are you doing here?" So we packed up all our stuff, and then we plugged into a church, and ran the ozone in the U-Haul and like cleaned, because the ozone can actually kill mycotoxins and mold spores and all of that. And so we did that on everything, and then we moved everything in and sprayed it down with EC3. And same thing for our clothes. Like we bought a new batch of clothes to wear for like 6 months, and then we didn't touch all the other stuff that we cleaned and like put in storage. But we've just been introducing them slowly, and we actually got triggered from them. But we washed them again and again and again. And so like just washing in the borax, the EC3, the essential oils, I think really help, like Thieves or On Guard or whatever, if you want to make your own mixture like I did. Or I know some people do ammonia, but like ammonia for me, I think would be really toxic and triggering. Yeah. So I think borax is definitely one of the top ones. I saw Dr. Jill, who's like a really high mold professional. She recommends borax at like the top level for mold cleaning,
And I
for
still
clothes.
use and the
Yeah,
EC actually. Every time I do laundry, I use both of those.
I know. I had one of those moments today where I like read an article. I was like, we're not cleaning enough. And so I like got the EC3 out and I was like spraying everything. And so I'm happy that EC3 is a thing. And CitraSafe is another brand that you can use. CitraSafe is a laundry wash that you can use.
They also have like dog shampoo
Yeah,
and
I
body.
know. Yeah, that stuff's awesome. So do you use the dog spray too?
Yeah.
Yeah, me
I
too.
use it occasionally, not every time we take him out, but like maybe once a week.
Yeah,
And that's helpful. And then I wash him with the shampoo too.
yeah, me too. I just started doing that with our new puppy.
So you
Yeah.
decided to keeping him?
Yeah, well, we're doing like a trial period right now with her. Like us, she has some things that we're working through. So she just has the anxiety, and so we're just trying to break that and help her get through it. And she's been doing really well. So I think we'll have a good answer in about 2 months.
Okay. Yeah, our dog has anxiety too. And
Yeah. Okay.
allergies.
That'll be a
So,
whole new topic is dog anxiety.
yeah, they just fit in with the family.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Hmm.
this was fun. Do you have any other things that you want to bring up, or does anyone have any questions or anything?
I do see a question here that someone asked. So it says, how long did it take you guys to feel better after getting out of the moldy house?
I'll let you go first.
um, let's see. I would say I was in moldy like apartments, homes for probably at least 6 years of my life. And so decreasing those symptoms did take a while. It wasn't like I went into one home where I had a mold exposure and then moved out and like I started feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
So I think throughout my healing journey, there's been moments where I do feel a lot better, and then there are moments when I don't, and that's usually when like I stop taking my supplements or
Mm-hmm.
when I start like not working on my mindset or forget about like all the things that I've learned throughout this.
Yeah,
Uh,
all the
yeah,
things.
yeah. So it's a roller coaster. It really is. And I think if you've been exposed to it for 6+ years, it's going to take a long time to heal from it because you've been
Mm-hmm.
exposed to it for so long. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it because you'll feel so much better on the other side.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. It's like the longer you've been exposed or dealing with a certain health issue, it's like also the longer the healing can take. Not, I don't want to say that you can't heal quicker, but typically,
Yeah.
yeah. I think for me, because our timing worked out so well and because our doctor is like such a little wizard, she like saw what was happening in our lives and she saw that we moved out of the mold and like we had just everything worked out perfectly. I finished like most of my treatments for like the bacterial infections and everything. I got stronger right around the time that we moved into this mold-free place. So I started doing the liver cleanses, and that's like liver cleanse was huge for me to start feeling better and to really like be able to work out and like do things again and just get
Mm,
like move to the next level of healing was when I moved into the mold free home and wasn't getting triggered anymore, but also when I did the cleanse.
mm, yeah.
Yeah.
We just had two more people join us. Hi.
Oh, hello. We're about to sign off. If you guys have any questions or anything for us, or paused right now. You're all loading right now. I don't know if you can see me or not. Oh, okay, you're starting to come back. Okay, cool. Hi, Sean. We're good. We're having girl talk. No voice allowed. I don't know why it's all blurry right now.
Is it good now?
Okay, yeah, now it's good.
I can like see your hair moving, but like not you.
All right. Maybe we just cut it off right here. Maybe this is a sign.
I think so. We have so many more topics to talk about in the future. So
This was so fun. I'm so glad that we could do that. It's also very therapeutic to talk about this. So I hope that this helped other people who are going to tune in. I'm going to save this to my profile so it's there for 24 hours too for people to
I think
look
you
back
can like
on.
save it too, so you can put it on your IGTV.
Oh, really?
I think so.
That's neat.
Yeah, sure. Send it
Cool.
my way. All right.
All
Well,
right.
we'll do this next Monday again.
I'll see you on Monday. Bye.
Bye.